Welcome back to K&J Productions here. I'm Javen. This is
Keith.
And today we're going to do a little story time. And Keith's going to be telling the story because the story mostly happened to him, but Keith, why don't you start us off?
Alright, well, I was at Javen's house, and we were behind his house, we're having a fire, okay? And it was Javen's family and me, and his neighbor. Well, we were sitting there, and the police sirens were going off like crazy throughout the night. And then we were sitting there, and we heard the police sirens go off, and we could see that the cop was pulled someone over through the houses. Like, there's a gap, we could see the lights. And me and Jay were like, oh, let's go watch.
It's in some church parking lot, like the block behind me.
Yeah. So we ran around, and we hid behind this church, because it was in the parking lot. So we hid behind the church, parked his bike, because he rode a bike, and we jumped behind this tree that was next to the church. And we watched them, okay? And finally, the cop was done, and me and Jay were like, okay, let's go home. Well, we start heading back, and all of a sudden, the cop turns down the side alley we were at, and Javen said, run. So we ran. But, as some people know, I cannot just run as fast as Javen. He was probably about 20 yards ahead of me, and he turned the corner, so I turned the corner too, and he jumped behind the garage. Well, I jumped on the side of the garage because I didn't exactly see where he went. Well, the cop turned, came down the side alley, drove past me, stopped, backed up, flicked on his spotlight, and I'm just standing against this guy's garage, and he was like, hey, get over here. I'm like, my parents are going to kill me. I went over there, he was like, you know, it's past curfew. I was like, no, I did not know that. And he's like, why did you run? Because when we seen you coming, we got nervous. He's like, where's your friend? I'm like, well, my friend's back at the house. I covered for Jaden because Jaden was on the other side of the garage, and I covered.
There's a little path because I knew exactly where I was going. I walk down the street all the time. I knew this path behind the garage, so I ran out, got back on the street, and ran up the street, and waited for about 10 minutes, and then walked down and turned the corner, and the cop car was not there.
Yo, you just jumped ahead. And, well, Javen's still behind the garage at this time. I walk up to the car because he's like, hey, get over here. And he's like, okay, well, get in the back. I'm like, he's going to take me down to the station, and I'm only going to get one phone call, and it's going to have to be to my parents, and my dad will literally come in and kill me. Well, I get in the back, and we're driving, okay, and just to let you know, the back of a cop car is hard plastic, which I didn't realize that. So when I jumped in the back, I already hurt my butt because I jumped in and I hit that plastic. Well, he starts driving, and he gets on to the main street there, and he was like, okay, where does your friend live? I'm like, thank gosh. He's taking me back to my Javen's house. So I tell him, and I could hear him when he went over the radio because I'm sitting in the back. He was like, juvenile delinquent. And I'm like, oh, crap. Now I'm a juvenile delinquent. Well, he gets back to his house, Javen's house, and he walks back behind the house, and Javen's mom's there, and she started to laugh because, of course, Javen's still out there, and I got caught by the police.
Why don't you tell him what your dad said before you came to my house?
Oh, yeah, before I came to Javen's house that night, my dad says, talk to both of them. He's like, don't get in trouble. I don't want to have the cops calling me. And I'm like, okay. Well, that didn't work.
Yeah, we already called him earlier. And
yeah.
Told him we got picked up for jaywalking.
With a joke. That's not the point, though. So we were back behind the house, and the cop was talking to Javen's mom, and then he was like, got Javen's mom's name and birth date. Then I was standing behind Javen's mom. He's like, okay, he's like, what's your name and what's your birth date? I'm like, Keith Beaver, and I'm stuttering like crazy. And then he's like, okay, what's your parents' number or your number? I'm like, so I can give you my number? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, sure. And I didn't want him to call my parents. And he's like, okay, just don't let them back out after curfew.
So pretty much at this time is when I came around the corner and realized Keith was probably taken to jail. So I walked back up the street, jump on the bike, and I'm riding home with this look on my face like, I'm going to die. So I get home, and I see a car just pull out from my driveway and go down the opposite side of the street. And then I heard Keith's voice, and I think that was the happiest moment of my life.
Yeah, me too, when I seen him coming around the corner. Yeah. But yeah, that was a Saturday.
Yeah,
it was a Saturday
night. A couple
night.
Weeks ago.
Yeah, it was like 10:30, and I guess the curfew's 10 o'clock, which I thought it was 11, but
I didn't